Good evening. This is a Community Consolidated School District 46 Board of Education meeting, Wednesday, July 7th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Frederick School. So I need a call to order and a roll call, please. Here.
Here. Here. And Nash. Here.
Okay, that gives us a quorum. So we need to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, good. Next, I need an approval for the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Nobody here for public comments? Anybody monitoring online?
Yeah, no comment online.
Board reports. Any members of the board have anything to report?
I didn't do a roll call.
Oh.
That's okay. Anderson? Here. Weedman?
Here, yes.
Braden? Aye. And Nash?
Present.
We start this over.
No, this was for.
It's
July, isn't it?
You'd think I've never done this before. All right, so there's nobody at public comments. We did the approval for the agenda. Next is board reports. Does anybody have, the board have something to report?
Committee. All right, so our food drive is coming up July 17th and 18th, so Saturday and Sunday, the 17th and 18th, from 10 to 4. It's going to be for Avon Cares Food Pantry. There's here. There will be Facebook posts going out in a few different worded messages to the district, advertising the food drive. So as much participation as we can get would be greatly appreciated.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
are there any items in particular need more critical than other items?
So as of right now, we're just going to be sorting by category, just the general.
And now we're up to the superintendent report.
Well, I do have a few things. First of all, we'll be serving just over 20 students in our Jumpstart Kindergarten program. That begins July 19th, and 4 weeks of that program. I know I spoke very dramatically at our last meeting about the creation of that program, but that's been ongoing, and we're really proud to put that together. We had our annual crisis plan meeting on June 22nd. It was facilitated by Chris Wildman, our Assistant Superintendent for Finance, and was attended by most of our administrators, along with representatives from Grace Lake Fire, Round Lake Fire, and Round Lake Police. Topics discussed include a review of our annual drills, our reunification procedures, the need for consistent safety plan response and potential of changing those responses in the future, the potential of delayed evacuation upon fire alarms. So I'll pause there. This topic is related to past experiences in our country of active shooter tragedies, when shooters pulled fire alarms and kids went outside and therefore were injured. This is delaying going outside if there's a fire alarm is not recommended by the Grace Lake Fire Chief, and we're not moving forward with it at this time. Mr. Wooden's looking at me like, what are you going to do over there? Yeah, it's not recommended at this time. We're not looking forward at moving forward with that. We also talked about building access for police departments, and I know the police departments were asked to be directly in touch with Mr. Halpern in case there needed to be any increased access. And we talked, and this is notable because you'll hear about this in the future, we talked about the creation of a district-wide safety committee. This is one of our plans for the upcoming school year, so that we are not just meeting yearly and talking about our safety plans, but actually doing a deep dive into our safety procedures, talking about what we might update and how. So that information will be upcoming. I also wanted to share that this week I had a meeting with the new Executive Director of EdRed, that's Bridget Everson. We had a very nice meeting, and she's just doing a nice job of reaching out to the superintendents who are part of EdRed, learning about how we're benefiting from it and what we need from EdRed. So we had some nice conversations about politics in Illinois and how we're getting information. And she will be setting up meetings with Board of Education members, so expect at some point to be hearing from her about setting up a meeting. This was a virtual meeting, a remote meeting. And finally, I wanted to share that if you stop by the district office, maybe a month from now, I'd say, you'll see that we're getting a little bit of a facelift that's happening over the next month. It's starting tomorrow. Tomorrow we are calling it, what are we calling it? Purge Day. Tomorrow's Purge Day. We're all coming in our jeans and t-shirts. We're going down into the basement and doing just a nice deep clean. But then we're getting some new paint that our maintenance crew will be putting on for us, and some new flooring as well. So we're really excited about that. Just a nice refresh at the district office. And that is the end of the superintendent's report.
Okay. Next would be committee reports for community engagement. What's that?
We covered it already.
Covered that already?
Yes,
Okay.
thanks.
All right, next I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the amended accounts payable report that we got and the personnel report that we got.
So moved.
Second.
Braden.
Aye.
Nash.
Aye.
Anderson.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Like to discuss it?
Yeah, so in Mr. Woke's absence, I told him that I would just reshare information. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago with you. This is something we're intending to do every year around this time, where we will bring you, excuse me, refreshed wage rates for the positions that are not a part of our unions. So we're talking about substitute teachers, homebound tutors, translator language interpreters, and lunch and recess supervisors if we hire any outside the district. So these rates were presented to you last month, with the exception of the homebound tutor. At that time, Mr. Woke told you that we were still working on coming up with a refreshed number. So I know he worked with you, Heather, on that, collecting information from other districts. That's a significant change. We're going from $25.75 an hour to $33 an hour, but that is very much in line with what we're seeing in the community around us. And notably, Mrs. Lorenzo has had difficulty hiring homebound tutors in the past, so we're really in support of that. So you'll see this every year, just a refreshed version. Any questions about this? Okay.
Roll call.
Weidman.
Aye.
Nash. Aye. Braden.
Aye.
And Anderson.
Aye.
Next is I need a motion to approve a major impact purchase from Phonics to reading for grades K through 2.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, in Paul Lewis's absence, we have Mrs. Woodruff here to talk with us. Amanda's going to share information about this, and I know Paul talked with us about this last time as part of the superintendent's report.
So we are here to ask you to approve the major impact for a phonics program for our English-speaking students in grades K through 2. Our Spanish if anybody would like to see, but I will also take any questions that you might have.
Jim, do you want us to give people a few minutes to take a look through these?
Sure.
Okay.
And this is ESSER funding, right? Yes. It's about how relevant they are to the standards, how well they align, teacher usability, student achievement using the resource, and then I believe there are some other categories that I'm not recalling.
Okay. And just to be clear, our teachers had an opportunity to weigh in.
Yes, they did.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Roll call, please.
Braden.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
Nash.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and Amanda, can you share information with us about that?
Yes, so Amplify Learning is an online resource for students for reading. It is an independent practice site that is encouraged to be used about 45 to 60 minutes weekly, and it kind of meets every student where they're at. So the first time students log in, they take a quick little placement test, and it places students on a track and differentiates for them. It presents various readings and kind of game-like scenarios for the students to help them move along whatever track they're on, and it differentiates for them. If students start doing really well, their reading level goes up. If students maybe need some extra support, that is provided to them. We had an opportunity to do a pilot of Amplify this past year, and both students and teachers were very impressed with what Amplify had to offer, and the students were very engaged in the learning with Amplify. I will share that we are asking for this for grades 3 through 8 non-Title I schools. So Avon and Prairie View already have something similar to this called Lexia for all of their students. We didn't want to have two programs that did similar things. So Avon and Prairie View being Every student will have an opportunity to have 30 minutes a day of some extra help to kind of fill in some of the gaps that we missed from last year, being COVID and everything going on with that. So this will be utilized not every day, not for the entire block, but again, maybe 15 minutes for 2 or 3 days a week as something to help all of the students improve their reading.
How does it measure the reading online? Do they have to answer questions?
They will answer questions, they will do activities, and based on how the students respond, it will kind of level off for the students. Similarly to how the MAP test does, the students will read a passage and answer questions, and then based on that, MAP will either give them increasingly harder or kind of stay at the same level, or maybe even a little bit easier passages and questions.
And Ms. Woodruff, is the plan to, at some point, sing separately going forward?
So hopefully after this year, we'll have a better idea of how students are performing using both, and then we planned on making a decision based on the information that we gather from both platforms. We also know that moving forward into next year, we are going to start looking for a new literacy resource for K through 8, and a lot of the resources have a component similar to this. So this might be for this year only until we choose a new literacy resource. So this could be we would like to continue with one of the two, either Lexia or Amplify, based on how students perform, or we're going to implement whatever comes with the literacy program that we recommend for adoption.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to ask about equity, but I read in here that, this organization has an equity lens on everything they do. So thanks for making sure that was covered.
Of course.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Anderson,
Aye.
Braden. Aye. Nash,
For grades 3 through 8.
Jamie missed one, the closed session minutes.
Yep. Well, we'll do this one first,
Okay.
if that doesn't mess you up.
No, that's fine.
So,
Somebody has to move.
well, I wanted to throw you off guard, as well as everybody else at the two tables.
I appreciate it. The only highlight or the change from 2 weeks ago when we talked about this was just that the details I was still working on at that time, but I'm excited to say that we are going to be moving the repair process for this batch of Chromebooks in-house. $1,000 over the next 3 years with these devices. Our two current one-to-one purchase or leases, we've been using an outside company that we send the devices out every Wednesday. They return some the following Wednesday, and that process, after doing some research, talking to other local districts, we can be a lot more efficient with that. And looking at our numbers over the last 2.5 years with our Lenovo of our new devices with Acer, will become a premier support district, and so we'll have direct access to them. We'll get some training for our techs so that we can do everything that we need to do in-house. Other than that, everything is very similar to what we talked about 2 weeks ago, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, Chris, I just wanted to say, thank you so much. I know that you've put a ton of work and research into making this happen, and just the time sensitivity to need to do this transition and swap. And moreover, I feel like you are always very diligent, or do an exceptional job with your due diligence at having an eye for savings. So that was really awesome to hear that there will be about $145K in savings as well. So nice job.
Thank you. Thank you. That was one thing that struck me a year ago when I started, was the sending out the devices. And so I'm happy that we're able to make that change. And there'll be some transition period this fall and into the winter, but I'm confident that our team will be able to handle it, and it'll be good for us in the long run.
When do you expect delivery?
As of this morning, CDW is still telling me that the devices are in stock, and we will likely have them before August. That being said, our current Lenovo devices are still under lease until December. So getting them, I'm not going to tell any vendor to hold on to them at this point. I'm getting them as soon as we can, and then we'll be able to take a little bit of time to get them unboxed and set up, and then we would likely still use our Lenovo devices for the start of the year. Since they're under lease and still under a repair contract, it makes sense to continue utilizing those. And then the nice thing with our Acer Premier support is that our warranty won't actually start on these new devices until we deploy them. So we'll tell Acer the deployment date, and then I see that at this point being in December. So we would make that transition leisurely and not rushed here in August or right at winter break. We'll be able to do a school at a time and whatever makes sense at that time.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, roll call.
Nash.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Braden.
Aye.
And Weedman.
Aye. All right, before we get too far off track again, I need a motion to approve the closed session minutes for release.
So moved.
I'll second.
And I'll share that I'm recommending the release of one set of closed session minutes from January 27th, 2020. Minutes will be released. Well, that's the recommendation.
Okay. Roll call.
Braden.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
And Nash.
Aye.
All right, next I need a motion to approve
items in the consent agenda. We're bringing it to you as a separate item tonight because this is not something that our board is used to seeing. So we wanted to explain it to you, but we're expecting to be doing this in a routine way. So I'll hand it over to you, Adam.
Dr. Glickman, thank you very much. So we are bringing forth here a bunch of equipment that is throughout the district, 3 vehicles, a tractor, a loader that goes with it, a mower, an older genie lift, snow plows that are from vehicles of 15 years ago that we do not own anymore. The vehicles that we are looking to get rid of are in poor shape. We've spent a lot of money on them, and 2 of them actually do not even run anymore. They sit in the back of one of our buildings. And as we spoke of earlier, of the decluttering, this is part of that process, and trying to bring in newer equipment throughout the district and vehicles that are safer and will save us money in the long run, as we are not putting them into the rebuilds. So we are asking for the approval on the disposal of the equipment.
Mr. Halpern, Do we, and I apologize if I missed it, I do see some valuations listed in the table in your report. Are we in a position to get resale value, through like, for lack of a better word?
A trade-in value on that to see, because that vehicle does run, to see if we can actually get some value on it on a trade-in. The rest of it will go to a recycling or a junkyard of some sort. You might find an old farmer that wants to rebuild it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Does it have to be an old farmer?
No, not
Okay, I'm
necessarily.
just asking. That's what he said. I just wanted to clarify.
Not necessarily. Any farmer.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay.
Nash,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
and Weedman.
For nighttime custodial services.
And this is Adam again.
Thank you once again. So back in October 2015, we signed a contract with RJB, who is our current custodial service. They've been with the district. The fact of their time frame with us, and really not many pardon me, tongue-tied, not many complaints. Due to the pandemic and different instances that have occurred, it was time to move forward on our request for new custodial service, different cleaning procedures. We went out to bid on it, and we got 6 companies that came back with respectable bids. At this current time, we are in the process of checking references on the lowest qualified bidder.
And we'll have the actual recommendation at the next meeting.
At the next meeting, that is correct.
Is there a, I know you said you were going to check references. In the contracts for any of these, is there an out clause for the district? So the last time, well, probably before our current contractor, we went with the lowest bidder, and the services that we got during that were pretty poor, to where the point where we ended the contract and went to the current contract. I just want to make sure that we're covered as far as making sure we have the, nice clean buildings and everything we need.
We absolutely are. We have an out clause. I know in there, please don't quote me on it, it's either a 30 or a 45-day with written on either party's side, where we can exit the contract, or they can exit the contract, one or the other, at any given time deemed necessary.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. See you next month.
It's a busy night for me, I guess. Okay, so I just want to give a little update on the indoor air quality assessment that's...
Before you do, we have another,
Wait, one more thing.
I didn't see that.
See ya.
unless you'd like to give the 21-22 update as well.
No.
You can.
That's all you.
I gave you my glasses, but they didn't work the first time. So.
I figured since Mr. Weedman was going and jumping, I'd do it too. We're not going to change course.
All right, so now we have an update on the 21-22 school year.
Yes. Well, it's a new month, and it's a new meeting, but it's not really new information. As you probably saw, I shared with our community yesterday, we vaccination records. So we're continuing to wait about that. However, Also, as I expressed to our community, the good news is we know how to do it. We know how to have school with lots of mitigation requirements in place, and obviously, we know how to have school without them. So we're just waiting to find out which it's going to be or in what places. And as soon as we have that information, we'll be sharing it out. So really, we have plans, and it will be a matter of tweaking them based on the information that we receive. And then also, we are waiting for a little bit more clarity regarding remote learning. This is also something that I shared with our community yesterday. We don't have it in clear direction from the state yet, but all indication is that there will be 2 different kinds of remote learning opportunities for a very limited number of students. The first, or one of them would be for medically fragile students. We don't have a clear definition from the state yet about what that really means or how a family is able to claim and show that their child is medically fragile. So we await that information. But once we receive it, our requirement will be to provide 5 hours of instruction per week for students. So that would be remote instruction. And again, it's just 5 hours. So that's one group of students. We don't expect that we will have very many, if any, students who will be seeking that and or qualifying for that opportunity. The other one is a short-term opportunity for students who fit 2 qualifications, and it's an and. These would need to be students who are under a quarantine requirement from the state and are ineligible for the vaccine. So they would have to be students who are under the age of 12 at this time, and they would have to be students who have been exposed to the coronavirus and are under a quarantine requirement. So we're not talking about very many students, and we're not talking about for a very long time. And in fact, you've heard me talk before about the shield testing, that's the saliva testing that we're putting into place. And the main reason that we're putting that into place is that it's not clear yet at the state level, but it's been indicated to us that a school district putting that saliva testing or other testing measures into place will allow us to shorten, if not completely get rid of those quarantining requirements if students have been using the testing. So that's a long way of saying we don't think we'll be using this. Via a Google Meet. It won't be like it was this past year. The other students will not be on the Meet. The other students in this case with a camera. The only 2 kinds of remote learning we're expecting to be in place, but again, we can't send it out as a done deal until we have more information from the state. And then I mentioned before that shield testing. So just yesterday, I spent the afternoon with Passport Health. That's the company that is going to be working with us to provide us with the testing. They'll It's 49.55%. And then that's broken down. So in the 65 and up group, people age 65 and up, 83.7% of those folks have been vaccinated. And then between under 65, people who are eligible, it's 62.9%. And that's the information I have for you today about the 21-22 school year. Any questions?
Thank you for the report and the update, Dr. Glickman. I do have a question. It was really regarding your update, but it probably ties back to Mr. Halpern.
Well, then he can answer. That's okay.
So I know that you indicated we're still awaiting ISB guidance, and one of the things I thought of was, as we are looking at the custodial services bids, as part of the conversation with the bidders, understanding that we're awaiting this guidance that may potentially have an impact on maybe some type of process or procedure and how they go about executing custodial services in the buildings.
Let me do the first pass, and then I'll pass it to you. Okay. So that feels like guidance that we are less likely to need at this point, because what we received in the spring was less of a requirement for the amount of cleaning that we thought we were going to need to be doing. So even in the spring, we started narrowing it down to cleaning high touch points, I believe, just once per day. Is that right? Yeah. So that, I said the good news for that one is that we think we know where we're going with that. Anything you want to add, Adam? Okay.
No, thank you. You actually pinpointed it. One thing I will add, actually, now that I say it, the high touch point areas, pre-pandemic, we were still hitting with disinfectant throughout the cold and flu season. None of that will change.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, now we are on to new business and update on the indoor air. Now we're up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Weidman. I guess it's my turn now. Okay. More involved with everybody and a better understanding as to what it is we're looking to do and accomplish within this. The main plan behind this with the initiative is to outline what we can do to make our buildings healthier for now and years to come. Within that, we talk about recommissioning out equipment and bringing them back up to today's standards new. As new as it can be without replacing the actual equipment and saving money the best that we can. Within that, we're looking for proper dilution ratios and air strategies. HVAC and the ventilation improvements, by doing this, will help us create budgets. It'll give us a greater idea of where we stand for the years to come on what we need to spend in our budgets. This also works hand in hand with Wold, our architects, with our facilities master's plan that we're working on right now. They are working together diligently with Train on the mechanical side of it, and the architects are giving their insight on it and working together as a cohesive pair. Along with it, it goes over through the building exhaust and all equipment that we have, from air handlers to pumps to any kind of air moving machines that we have to ensure that we have working units, healthier buildings. It'll give us an idea of what we need to clean how we need to go about it with our air filters, different types of pressure drops throughout. Once again, it'll come up with a different budget so that we can show cost savings and efficiency within the equipment. They will also come out and go through our programming and make adjustments to our programmings so that it will do what's called reverse economizing. And what the reverse economizing does is it drives the outside air minimum to a higher than normal by modulating, and opposed to a fixed approach, which is either wide open or closed. This will actually go over the system internally, and the system will know when to scale the dampers back accordingly for proper airflow. It's continuous, and it maximizes our outdoor air temperature flow coming into the rooms. It will also immediately, and I say immediately, bring in fresh air into these buildings. It's going to work with maximizing the amount of humidity we can have within it also. Key portion to today is the reverse economizing. This report will also align and utilize the CDC and ASHRAE's recommendations for our healthier buildings within. And obviously the biggest focus to it is our indoor air quality. And by doing it, once again, it's recommissioning our equipment from 20 years ago to today to get our most efficient work out of it.
Adam, what's your timing for the assessments?
So we are looking to have a preliminary report brought to board, if I'm not mistaken, was it September or August? I'm sorry, it was August. We're looking at bringing a preliminary report in.
August or September. But, you know, I think we'll have that information in August because, you know, if we have to make any changes. Yeah, yes.
And I think that was
Okay.
part of it.
Yeah. And then that report will kind of lay out what are probably the most high priority items to take action on. And
It'll lay out energy efficient programs that we'll be able to do and take the dollars to keep building on from that.
thank you. I love the alignment with our strategic plan.
Mr. Halpern, I love the idea of bringing Wold in, our building architects to be a part of this air quality assessment. Was there any additional cost with bringing Wold into the mix to have this assessment done, or are they just partners looking to maximize and understand?
So there is no extra cost to it. This was prepaid for because part of the facility.
All right, good deal. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Meeting that night. So members of the Finance Committee expect to hear from Mr. Wildman relatively soon about that agenda and such. And please, board, remember that even if you're not a part of that committee, it's an open meeting. It'll happen here. You know, you're welcome to sit in the audience and participate, or to listen, rather, if you're not on the committee. So a tentative budget presentation that night. WOLD presentation draft report, that's an additional presentation from WOLD. They're going to come in, and a solar panels report from Performance Services. So we're going to be kind of all about the buildings that night and the budget. Along with that, expect some type of a 21-22 school year update. Certainly, you will have heard more information prior to mark your calendars for that. So therefore, we'll have a food service report that you've asked for. So our will be coming that night. And then on September 22nd, WOLD will come back to actually bring forth the long-range master facilities plan approval. So they're going to talk with you about it in August, come back a month later, and we expect to have policies approval that night as well. And that's what I have.
Okay, anybody have anything else to slide into those long agendas?
Okay.
All right, we are back up to public comments. Anybody online?
Just a moment. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. The first one is from Jamie McCann, who wrote, I want to thank you for your hard work and dedication. I have a few logistic questions about 21-22. Will the district be planning on changing the testing procedures for students this year, meaning instead of getting the PCR test version, will the rapid test version from Walgreens be allowed, or even self-test kits? How will students' families be notified about and checking the Infinite Campus portal? Then we got another email, another message also from Mrs. McCann saying that the sound is choppy and full of static, so I'm sorry to hear that, and we'll see what we can do for the future on that. In practice, hereby known as critical race application in practice, is becoming extremely prevalent throughout our great nation. Identity politics, wokeness, race, gender identity, etc., being injected into traditional curricular topics such as math and science in an effort to induce further divisions within our society. While K-12 schools may not be directly teaching CRT, as in they are not actually teaching the theory, the application and practice of CRT is extremely divisive, sinister, and blatantly racist, and cause long-lasting damage to an entire generation of our extremely impressionable young students, impressionable youth. CRT is often implemented under the guise of diversity, inclusion, and equity initiatives, and is a Marxist ideology derived from critical theory from the Frankfurt School. I think it is important to ensure that we are not exposing our youth to politics in the classroom. Additionally, I wholeheartedly denounce the recently released statement from the NEA, National Association of Educators, where they are allocating over $127,000 to push back against people and groups who do not want CRT, CRAP in our schools. Additionally, they stated that they want to teach CRT and teach children the evils of, I'm not sure I can say this, read this word, here you go, cis-hetero patriarchy, itself a component of critical gender theory, and capitalism. Last I checked, the United States of America is the greatest nation on earth, provides everyone, regardless of race, gender, sexuality, religion, disability, etc., with equality of opportunity by virtue of our capitalistic economic structure, not the equality of outcome, which is the goal of the so-called equality that is constantly being pushed. Excuse me, I've lost the ability to open up the rest of this box. Just a moment. Here we go. We are not living in the Soviet Union. We are not governed by the Chinese Communist Party. We live in a constitutional republic, not a democracy, and our patriotic values must be upheld and ingrained in our youth. I advocate for other parents to understand that these DEI initiatives are not what they seem and do their own research. There are plenty of resources available, and I encourage parents who do not want their children exposed to these extremely racist concepts to band together and fight back. And that is the last public comment.
Okay. We have no need for a closed session for tonight, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Nash,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Braden.
Aye.